Imagine throwing yourself a parade, not because you won the championship, but because when you lost, you didn't get completely knocked out. For Edgar Berlanga, losing wasn't a lesson, and for the comeback fight in his hometown, he wanted to prove he was still the man. So he wrapped himself in designer clothes, borrowed shiny jewelry, and flaunted money in everyone's face. And he wouldn't be a real New Yorker if he didn't trash talk his opponent, Hamza Shiraz, disrespect his entire team, and bet $100,000 on a knockout. So with a packed out stadium, seats filled with his friends and family, and local celebrities sitting ringside, it was time for the self-proclaimed King of New York to defend his throne.
With the right cross, he out of there, and there he's got him hurt again, and that's it.
Fighting at home adds a lot of pressure. Everyone you grew up with might see you get humiliated, and when you insult your opponent, the target on your back only grows bigger. Shiraz, of course, let Berlanga keep his 100K, and has been nothing but respectful since. Edgar, on the other hand, has alluded to the conspiracy that Shiraz was cheating. One of the biggest advantages a boxer can have is fighting in their hometown. One of the biggest disadvantages a boxer can have is fighting in their hometown. On January 31st, boxing returns to New York with Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson finally fighting at Madison Square Garden. Teofimo is the freak athlete with raw power from New York, and Stevenson is the untouchable boxing genius from New Jersey. A clash between two of the best boxers alive makes this an instant classic. And you can get 5% off the pay-per-view if you use my code Murdoch5 at checkout. Just pick the PPV and the code takes 5% off. There's only 500 spots, so help support the channel and save some money by using the code Murdoch5. Why do you think Floyd Mayweather was so hard to beat? Was it because he had elite ring IQ, unlimited cardio, and the best defense in the history of the sport? Probably. But a rarely discussed angle of his title defense was that for the last 11 years of his career, Floyd lived, trained, and fought exclusively within a 2-mile radius. He made Las Vegas an impenetrable fortress. Of course, he probably would have won if he fought in New York or London or Japan, but why give up any edge when you don't have to? Make the other guy travel across the globe, adjust to the weather and time zone, and face a hostile crowd. But for every champion that thrives at home, there's a contender that can't handle the bright lights. The stakes get too big, they see too many familiar faces in the crowd, and they can't perform like themselves. Fighting at home doesn't change who a boxer is, but the added pressure reveals what was always there. Daniel Dubois had the weight of an entire nation on his shoulders. He had the chance to become the first undisputed British heavyweight champion since Lennox Lewis, in the first undisputed heavyweight title fight to ever take place in the UK, against a man who dominated every other British heavyweight of the era, in the country's national stadium, about an hour's drive from where he grew up. All of Great Britain's hopes pinned on one man is an incredible burden to bear. When I walked into Wembley, it was absolutely electric. 90,000 fans screaming for their champion to get revenge. But when I left Wembley, it was like leaving a funeral. Yes, there is a comfort to fighting at home, but there's also an expectation, an impossible standard set by the very people there to support you. For fighters that feed off the crowd, it can be an incredible motivator, but that same energy can cast doubt, insecurity, and ultimately downfall. Amir Khan's ring walk into Manchester Arena was a heartwarming welcome home for the Bolton native. Unfortunately, it also lasted longer than the actual fight. 25 seconds in, on his pay-per-view debut, paying fans were introduced to Khan's chin. What was supposed to be a homecoming highlight for the Olympic silver medalist became a nightmare. So what happened? After the fight, Khan admitted that the moment simply got too big for him. He fought with his heart rather than his head, and against a big puncher, he paid the price. He could have used his hand speed and boxed from the outside, but he wanted to give the people a show, and he probably should have stayed down longer to clear his head, but the entire city was watching. Khan did eventually learn to tune out the noise and became a great champion, but that first headlining pay-per-view stadium fight in a hometown can make a nervous wreck of anyone. Even legends like Vladimir Klitschko aren't immune to the hometown curse. After winning gold for Ukraine at the '96 Olympics, Dr. Steelhammer elected to start his professional career in Germany. After 24 straight wins, the heavyweight division's hottest prospect returned to Kyiv for his first fight on home soil, and his promoters brought in journeyman Ross Purity to be a sacrificial but durable punching bag for the hometown hero. For 9.5 rounds, the crowd was treated to a clinic on textbook 1-2s. Purity probably ate 100 clean punches to the head. He had lost every round on every scorecard, but he also had an exhausted Klitschko in front of him. It didn't take much to send the giant tumbling to the ground, and although he survived the round, he sat on his stool in pain and in disbelief. Soon after, a barrage of hooks had Klitschko wobbled, dazed, and defenseless. To the disappointment of everyone in the building, his trainer jumped in the ring to stop the fight. With all respect to Purity and his iron chin, he didn't win this battle as much as Klitschko lost it. It's a reminder that being bigger, faster, and stronger doesn't guarantee victory. Mike Tyson once said that the sport is 10% physical and 90% emotional, and Klitschko proved his point. Reflecting on his first loss, he recalled, "I was unable to control my emotions in front of my countrymen. I wasted my energy and I wasted my punches." This heartbreaking loss was the last time he ever fought in Ukraine. Compare this with the championship version of Klitschko, the jab and grab merchant who mechanically broke down his opponents. Frustrating to watch, but extremely effective. He was hyper-disciplined and never strayed from the plan, even if the crowds booed. But speaking as a fan, while I love to see a humble, methodical jab robot dominate the ring, boxing also needs obnoxious, unhinged villains willing to crash out and put their reputation on the line to sell tickets. Sometimes it's a sport, but sometimes it's just good old-fashioned entertainment. Losing to Canelo was the best thing to happen to Edgar Berlanga. I mean, he made millions of dollars, raised his profile, and got respect for going the distance with the face of boxing. He took Canelo's best punch and got back up. But you see how he's clapping his gloves? Remember that for later. Back in New York, he was headlining the main event against a fighter who, frankly, looked awful in his last showing. Hamza Shiraz was gifted a draw when he probably should have lost. He was moving up in weight to fight Berlanga, it was his debut in the US, and it was his first bout with a new coach. Now normally this would tip the scales so far in favor of the hometown fighter, one might call it a cherry pick. Except Shiraz's new trainer was none other than Andy Lee, a tall, rangy former middleweight champion with absurd knockout power, perfectly equipped to guide Shiraz to victory. The first 3 rounds were mostly a filling out period and a battle for lead foot positioning. But once the distance was measured, heavy leather began to fly. Beautiful combination punching sent Berlanga reeling to the canvas, and we saw the return of the wounded ego glove clap. He was laughing and probably figured, if I can take Canelo's power and survive, surely I can take anything. Back on his feet, he tried to go punch for punch with Shiraz until another left hook and a sweeping right landed perfectly on his chin. Fair play to Berlanga for getting up twice and continuing to fire back. He was saved by the bell and in no condition to enter the next round, but there was zero chance his corner was gonna throw in the towel, especially not in New York. At the first sight of cleanly landed punches, the referee rightly stopped the fight. Shiraz did what Canelo couldn't, and Berlanga got the humbling of a lifetime. It's a reminder that being cocky amplifies everything. Win, and you're a confident fighter that can back it up. But lose, and the entire world celebrates your downfall. But we can't hate on Edgar Berlanga. Boxing needs bad guys. Someone fans tune in praying to see get knocked out. It sells tickets and keeps the sport interesting. He gave all his haters a clip to watch on repeat, and he gave me a video idea. His persona and trash talking alone earned him 2 main events that his skill level otherwise wouldn't have. One with a generational superstar. Unfortunately, he's since burned bridges with every promoter, but if he plays his cards right, he could be the villain for one more big payday. As for Hamza Shiraz, championship fights are on the horizon. With Saudi support and the right trainer behind him, I wouldn't be surprised if he snags a title in the near future. And in the end, Berlanga didn't just lose a fight, he folded under the pressure of hometown hype, largely of his own making. He isn't the first, nor will he be the last fighter to get embarrassed in his own backyard. It's just another dynamic that makes the best sport in the world so interesting. And it's always great to see a humble, hardworking man beat the taste out of an obnoxious loudmouth wearing fake designer.